Hello and welcome to the Melanated Veteran Podcast. I'm your host, Miss Mesha, and before we begin, the first order of business is always share, like, and subscribe to the Melanated Veteran. We're on almost all major platforms: iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeart, and many more. Don't forget to check out our website at www.themelanatedveteran.com. So today my guest is someone who I met, I believe it was a year ago. I had met him at the VA. I was struggling dealing with having to set up appointments and everything. And he saw I was upset and he he kind of found me and he said, "Hey, I just want to know if it's okay if I pray with you." And I said yes. And his prayer, I was bawling because it was so awesome that he took the time and someone wanted to, pray with me. So I want to introduce my guest. He is the founder of 1Team1Fight Ministry. Please welcome Calvin Miller.
Hello. It's always a blessing to connect and a blessing to be on this awesome podcast on today.
Yes, thank you. So like I said, you definitely helped me out that day because I was like, and I say struggling, I was struggling. So it was good that you saw that. So let's begin. So what branch of service were you in and how long were you in?
I was in the United States Navy for 11 years, from 2001 all the way to 2012.
Okay. What was your job?
And I was an operations specialist, so I dealt with radars and maps and charts and navigation and fun times, absolutely fun times.
So you were one of those that was pretty much almost always on ship, some form or fashion.
Yeah, 6 deployments with my last tour being on ground in Balad, Iraq.
Oh, wow. Okay. So before you got in, you went to boot camp. What was your thoughts?
My thoughts were survival of the fittest. Of course, I'm a little humble kid out of Sunnyside, Texas, out here in Houston, a little community on the southeast side of Houston where get from gang violence to poverty to prostitution, you name it, drugs. Just filled in the community, and actually I got in trouble as a 18-year-old kid and was facing 10 years in prison. And the judge, said, "Hey, join the military or go to jail." And so sign me up. So that was my start for the United States Navy. Ended up going to boot camp. Was supposed to graduate September 11th, 2001. But we all know what happened September 11th,
Oh,
2001. So
wow.
everything pushed back, and my career jumped off with a bang.
Oh, wow. Who? You said, look, hey, I did what I had to do. Like, oh, goodness. So I have so much respect for people who especially were in at that time because I know that was rough. So um so you finished boot camp, deal with, everything going on with 9/11. Um what are some highs and lows of your career while you were in?
So I can honestly say before I joined the military, I was probably equivalent to the Blue off of Temptations. I was the church boy. I came up in the church. All I knew was church. And so when I joined the Navy, my first thing was to turn up. And
Mm.
so I was that guy that literally left the Bible at the airport and was like, "Forget this. It's time for me to have fun." Got on the airplane, my first beer, that was given to me by a master chief, and he was like, "Kid, don't worry about it. It's an international flight. Have fun." And I remember getting drunk off my first two beers on an airplane, and that's when my addiction to alcohol began. I had several alcohol-related incidents, DUI. So my lows in the military was my alcohol addiction. I started smoking marijuana, and I'm talking about lots of marijuana. So from alcohol abuse to drug abuse, that's just something that I saw a lot of us as military, especially in the Navy, doing. And we enjoyed it, So I was smoking while I was in the military.
Oh, wow.
Smoking a lot. I was drinking a lot. But my high moments would be definitely unity. What we're dealing with here in 2021, where we ended in 2020, where our nation is so divided and so separated. I didn't see that. We had fellowship, we had brotherhood, we had sisterhood, we followed. It was just unity in so many different ways. Diversity, learning other cultures, learning other races, learning other religions. It was just fun times.
I agree. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of people that they're like, oh, you're in the military, but they don't realize how many relationships, like you said, that you get with these people. Like, it's like a brotherhood, sisterhood. And that's one thing I'm thankful for, is that part. So I definitely understand. Um, so you're in the military. You're having issues while you're in. Um, what exactly made you go ahead and get out?
Honestly, my daughter, my oldest daughter, Destiny, I remember I came back from a deployment, and she was in the back seat of the car, and we stopped Walgreens. Never forget this. My wife was going to go get some out of Walgreens, and all of a sudden my daughter just busts out crying. I was like, "Destiny, what's going on?" And she was like, "I don't want you and mommy to get a divorce." And I was like, "What do you mean a divorce?"
Mm.
She was like, "You're always gone, and I heard whenever a parent is gone like that, that the parents are separated and that they're getting a divorce." So she had heard that story at school, and so right after gets back in the car, she was like, "What's going on? Why y'all both crying?" And I was like, "Sweet Pea said we getting a divorce. Like, anything you want to tell me?" And she's like, "What?" So she was like, "No." So she explained the situation to Destiny, what why I was gone so much, and it was like that deployment that kind of like took me for a loop to where I was like, okay, I love this, but I'm spending more time, away from my family than I am with my family. And so I literally had asked God to let me out of the military. That was my specific prayer. And I wasn't supposed to get out of the military until 2013. And I was in air traffic control school, got called to the ship in 2011. They were like, "Hey, we got some bad news we want to share with you." And at that point, I had just got a DUI. So I had thought
Oh,
that
wow.
I knew for sure that this was going to be the reason why I was about to get kicked out of the military, because I had hid it, but nobody knew about it. And so they told me to sit down. It was like, "Unfortunately, you got picked to get put out the military." And it was something that President Obama was doing at the time with the budget cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Happened to get picked,
Yep.
and that they was lost for it, because I was a good seller. I had at that time had no bad marks or records, on my eval, so I was a great guy, but just making bad decisions. But I cried, and they was like, "Y'all know this is hard. You don't want to, we don't want to see you leave." I was like, "No, y'all don't understand. I asked God to let me out." And so I ended up getting out a whole year before my contract was up. And so, it was a prayer for me to get out.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah, we hit had that hit hard too. ERB. I believe that's what they called it. It was like those that in a certain year group. and if certain people didn't make, I think, uh, the next rank, they didn't get promoted, a lot of them were kicked out. And they, same as you, like they had people who were Sailor of the Year that they ended up kicking out. Um, that shook everyone. So really shook everybody. So you get out. Um, Telling you a little bit about like how did you get started with the 1Team1Fight ministry?
So, like I said, I was church boy, so church was always in me, but I ran from it, for years. It was actually when I was stationed in New Orleans in 2006, where
Mm-hmm.
I really, put the calling on my life as an evangelist, and I still ran, and from that day forth, when I got out of the military in 2012, I never looked back, and so I ended up getting a job at the Star Hope Women and Family Shelter. That was the old one that was on Dowling Street. And, so it was there where I evangelized and ministered. And my wife, God had gave the name to my wife, 1Team1Fight. And we ended up, becoming a nonprofit and, just blessing communities, all over the city of Houston, prayer marches and homeless events and serving inside of prisons and have our own church. It's just, fulfilling the calling that I already do I had on my life, but I eventually just stopped running.
Amen. I checked out your website and I was impressed. And looking at it, I was like, I never would have known that these things were going on. And now that I've seen that, I'm like, I definitely want to be a part of it. So I love what you're doing with the community, especially with the homeless veterans. Um, it's tough for them. So I appreciate what you're doing. Um, so, are there any skills that you use while you were in that you use now in your business?
Leadership. Even in ministry, for me, customer service is, I preach that all the time. And for myself, of course, everything is birthed through prayer. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, from the day I met you, prayer is just what I've seen get me out of everything. And so,
Mm-hmm.
we're extremely, pushing customer service, especially from a pastor's perspective, from a church, standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Some churches you just don't receive good customer service. And I always, believe that first impression is the lasting impression. So I've taken, the customer service skills that I, applied through my military days and applied it in every, ministry outreach that we've done citywide. And we've had zero errors, zero problems. We have, connections from the mayor, the police chief, to where, we put something together that, they partner with us, they come out and talk about our customer service. And so I've taken my leadership skills from what I've learned from boot camp all the way, to the time I got out to continue to use those same leadership skills when it comes to serving, my community.
Okay. Okay. So what advice would you give someone who is wanting to start like a nonprofit? Um, what advice would you give them for that as well?
My brother Quinn says it's best. We all are born original. Don't die a copycat.
Oh.
Uh, I really feel like, what's yours is yours. But if it's not a gift that, is yours, stay away from it because you end up hurting people more than helping people.
Mm.
Uh, So, I've always, pushed that also. Just stay in your lane and know your lane. And once you stay in your lane and know your lane, the nonprofit side, it'll flow so easy because it's absolutely what you love to do. And, making sure you have your DBA and articles of incorporation and all that paperwork,
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Make sure you have somebody that's reliable to get that stuff, together for you, and just running with it, not looking back. Be prepared for the storms, but be prepared for the joy that comes behind it. So having a nonprofit is not easy, but loving my nonprofit is a blessing because it has blessed so many people. And what we've been blessed to do.
That's awesome. Thank you again for your service and everything that you do for the community. So before we wrap up, tell everyone where they can find you.
Absolutely. So y'all can find me at www.1team1fightministries.com, and that's the actual one team one fight and ministries .com. And you can also find me on Facebook at Calvin Miller. And then we're on Instagram also at 1Team1Fight Ministries, and we're on Twitter at 1Team1Fight82. So there's several ways that you can find me. If you're ever in need of prayer, you can also contact us at 832-589-0292. We would love to pray with you and see you overcome with what you're dealing with.
Okay. Again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Like I said, you guys personally helped me in my time of need, and that I definitely appreciate that. You can find me at the Melanated Veteran on Facebook and IG, and also the www.themelanatedveteran.com. I am your host, Miss Mesha, signing off, saying embrace what makes you you. Thank you.